Hey, what's up guys? It's Oakley and this is going to be Rome 2. We're back. We're doing a siege on a city called Tingis in, I believe, Northern Africa. But anyways, it's going to get underway and it's going to be a massive battle where our Roman ally has opted for a build with almost, I think more than half of his units are going to be the heavy onagers. These guys cost more than Praetorians, I believe, and so they do pack a punch, nice range and all that. But for a siege, it's a bit overkill. I mean, you get free siege equipment to take the walls. I don't know why you'd invest so much in artillery. Yes, maybe one or two to take out a siege, a tower like this. But why even bring that? I mean, look at what my army can bring. Siege Ram of Hegetor, which, by the way, I made a documentary on the real thing itself. If you want to learn more about that, check out the description or check out that video itself where I go over what were the components of this. And basically there is some artillery lofts inside this position right here, and then lower, the reason it had this big tortoise encasing around it was so that when it went up here and encountered a ditch, you could have people undercover here, moving soil and filling in the ditch as the battering ram moved closer and closer. So that was an interesting development. So anyways, on this side we're moving up, bombarding that front. On this side, we're going to be making the approach as well with my ally, Syracuse, pushing up. So he has a lot of siege towers, and he's going to be attacking a very small front. But an interesting thing to note is over here, the city builders didn't quite finish with their plans to expand the city, and so all of a sudden, what they're faced with is an overlooking hill on top of one of the battlements. So my guys are going to cock their arrows and fire them right into the mass. I'm going to target this little scorpion here. A couple of the crewmen do go down. Most of the shots actually being absorbed by the surrounding legionaries, but I'll continue to put the pressure on. Those guys are going to pull out, and what you're going to be seeing cresting the hill here is going to be a bunch of my artillery starting to move up in a nice overwatch position, and then I have more siege towers rolling around to push the right flank. Let's go ahead and put on, I guess, the overhead view here. So you can see I have brought a scythe chariot. I have two silver shield pikemen because I wanted those to hold and perhaps clear streets of enemy pikes. And then up through here, thorax swordsmen, and then some silver shield swords, I believe. Note, this is the contingent with all thorax swordsmen. Two small artillery pieces, the Greek onagers, because I wanted to blow up dense clusters of enemies, particularly in the city where I figured we'd have choke points. Two Syrian archers as well. And these guys are going to be rolling up, and take a look at what the enemy gets to see here from the perspective of the Praetorians. Even these guys are going to be a little bit scared by what's coming up over the hill, and you're going to imagine who is the architect, the siege engineer who created these defenses. Good God, this is a terrible way to set up your city. And they're going to learn why. I mean, they did have a nice little choke point here, but at this stage of the city's development, like I said, yikes, not looking too good. Let's go ahead and watch from our perspective over here, as you can look down on the city. And like I said, this leaves you wondering as a defender why on earth you would build this, and as an attacker, it's a wet dream to be able to have such an overwatch position. And that just kind of goes to show why siege towers were such big features of sieges. Is because the siege tower was intended to give you the equivalent of a hilltop position. You can see just how threatening this hilltop is. The same could be said of a series of siege towers built up on one side. The same thing could be achieved with a ramp of sorts, and so that's why they would build those, obviously. And the big misconception about siege towers is that they're used for assaults like this, where it was used just as a troop elevator. That's maybe true in later stages of sieges, but for most of the siege, the role of a siege tower was to move up close and provide the suppressive power that this hilltop position is. You would clear the walls, and then once the walls were cleared, then you would come and breach it with some of your guys. Wow. Yeah, you'd be able to have, typically it'd be a combination of siege engines put together. Siege towers rolling up and doing suppressive fire. And then you would build a big ramp up to the walls. Here you would be able to have, a siege ramp that goes maybe to about yay high, and then after that you would have a battering ram that would be able to roll up, start picking away at the wall. Even men with pickaxes might go to town here, and it would also facilitate ladders that could come and overwhelm the wall. But it was in scaling the wall that people knew they would take a lot of losses. so they were very careful about that. Anyways, now we're starting to get a lot of big artillery positioned up here. We're attacking the whole front. Lots of our units assaulting, although it's going to be hoplites, which aren't that great, particularly against Praetorian Guard. It's not going to go super well. On the other front here, the Roman forces have blown a huge hole here, and they're going to be ditching pretty much their 2 siege towers. They're taking fire damage, so now legionnaires are going to charge through. Going to deal with some enemy Praetorians against Hastati, so Hastati are going to be massacred in this type of engagement. Not quite sure where he wants to go. Perhaps he's going to try and push a little bit deeper. The enemy doesn't have too many defenses here, although now we're just starting to get a little bit of a teaser of what's going on, and it looks like actually I misspoke. They have a lot of reinforcements and a lot of defensive structures set up. I had some of my guys bust open the gates, and my Silver Shield swordsmen are being pretty heavily killed, but I do have reinforcements in the back. So it looks like we're going to claim this. On this flank as well, I did bring up my siege ram of Hegetor, blew a hole in the walls, and this was kind of the dockyards I figured wouldn't be particularly well defended, just because it's so remote. And this is where I was going to move in and land my elephants on the dockyards. This is going to be an interesting little engagement here. Also, knowing that the enemy would naturally want to counter by blocking this position, I'm going to bring up some Peltas and Syrian heavy archers. So that's going to be my play to get around this flank. I can pivot back to this side where I have some of my own siege towers moving up to the walls, starting to seize them. My archers here in supporting positions were able to do a fair amount of damage, clear out some of the walls, offer support. But now the enemy is out of range, so what I'm going to try and do is start targeting this position once again from the top with my artillery. Over on the hilltop, my artillery is also in a perfect position to pivot left and also right to start to hammer the walls here. It's going to be a little bit hard and tricky to get some nice shots on, but what I can start to do is target this wall from an angle such that it's going to be pretty easy to hit it here. Most of the shots that miss, I mean, they're going to hit some portion of this wall, so I'm a really good place for this. Here come in the shots. A couple of them go wide, but I think that's because at this point I was still targeting the Sacred Band. I was hoping I'd get a lucky shot either in the cluster on the bottom or the cluster right here, just nail these guys. But it turns out when you have units split up like this, it's going to be harder to hit them, and the artillery kind of goes haywire. On this front, the huge Greek heavy onagers are going to be coming in. Ooh, and they're going to start to rain down. Oh, that narrowly misses some of these forces. This guy nopes out of there and turns back around. But overall, I'd say the heavy onagers have been doing kind of a big, wasteful job. They are big, heavy, lumbering units that I never really think pay for themselves. I mean, look at all these units back here sitting around, not doing much. Even if they do fire at something, you're going to do what? You're going to kill a Nubian bowman who costs, what is this, like 350 gold? Yeah, this is a really big waste of... How many onager units is that? Like 4 or 5? Massive waste. But nonetheless, it's going to be still relatively epic. This is a hell of a bombardment. I can't even imagine what the aftermath of, getting hit by a stone like that is. Even craters, and even some of them in the back are bouncing, which is pretty funny. But anyways, the Nubian bowmen are actually doing a pretty fair amount of damage, picking at our guys in the front lines, and now reinforcements from Galatian Royal Guard are going to chew through these cheap legionnaires, or cheap-ish legionnaires. Looks like my ally here is trying to make some progress, but of all the approaches he could have made, he decides to charge right into a thorax pikeman force. So not ideal. I guess Roman legionnaires they have contempt for the pike, seeing as what happened at Pydna, but I guess we'll see if they can beat it. A couple men are going to punch through, and it looks like the pikemen are shuffling. This may be our opportunity to push forward, and it looks like we even have some fire from the tower, so the battle may yet go in our favor here. Over in this position, I forgot to show you what was happening. Basically, the enemy pulled up with a lot of reinforcements up through here to beat back my approach. I have a bunch of units pulling up, though. But here's my general with the Indian armored elephant starting to pull up, and he has two just regular elephants behind him, two war elephants coming up, and now I have spotted a big, massive blob of enemy units. Yes, they have a pikeman force, but I'm going to charge it kind of tangentially. I was trying to have the order to go around, but it looks like the building here kind of extends a little bit past the corner, so it's hard to squeeze my guys through here. But there's a big, juicy target up through the front that I'm trying to get through. Looks like a couple of them are going to be pulled slightly through, but then they turn back around on this big blob. But I think that at least the pikes aren't doing that much damage, and this guy is going to be the MVP of the elephants. Look at the massive units that he's just sitting on behind him. Another one does squeeze through a couple of them, and they're going to chase back those Cretan archers. Let's watch this. So we have elephants infesting the docks. This is pretty cool. Not something you'd expect at all in a siege battle. So, you know, this is definitely shaping up to be something interesting. Here comes the other Mahout. He's angry at these archers. And, yeah, looks like this is going to be shattering this blob. The pikes are starting to turn about to face my elephants. More like I'm charging straight into them. But the majority of my elephants have been able to punch through. And look how much damage. Oh, my God. Look at the carnage up here. My, Indian armored elephants are starting to drop in the face of this, but most of my guys have been pulled through. Almost 100 kills on them. Indian war elephants here getting massive amounts of kills. Holy crap, how are they getting that many kills? I guess it's this giant blob, but now they run amok, and there is a second bottleneck here with, unfortunately, thorax pikemen, and these Indian war elephants are going to charge into them despite these being big pointy sticks, and that's what I get for having them so close and having them run amok. But this is a very scary sight. Slowly pushing through the pike wall, but they are nonetheless racking up a fair amount of damage, so I expect my guys to start dropping pretty soon. Yeah, there you go, plus the reinforcements at the back, the Rayo spears and mercenary Cretan archers. They've really bottled up my elephants. I'm going to try and pull them up back to a safe position. I do bowl over some of my own men, and he's going to get some fire arrows here, so now I'm going to be running amok. So this is really a pretty good counter to me. I was really hoping that the Roman forces on this front would be able to punch through and sandwich whatever opposition I had, but it looks like he's been completely shut down here by reinforcing Galatians, and just not the best of engagements. A lot of dead here. Looks like he's facing pikes and Galatians, and it's just the reinforcements of the archers here did pretty well. Although our legionnaires are going to be able to punch through, having suffered decent amounts of losses here, but cleaned up the Nubians and now are pushing back to the capture point. Over on this side, I did blow a hole through the walls with my supporting artillery. They're now out of ammo, so I'm going to try and pull them up. My scythe chariots have been pulled into the city, where I'm trying to find a position to target the enemy. Meanwhile, I'm pulling up with two of my silver shield pikemen, pikes at the ready, and my Syrians are going to start firing into the opposing sacred band. However, I didn't have the best positioning on my archers because they're going to be face on against these Balearic slingers, and in the mass numbers that they have, they're going to actually rout one of my Syrians. But holy crap, I love the artwork on these silver shield pikemen. They look absolutely beautiful as they move up through the street. So I lost one of the Syrians. That was a pretty devastating blow for me as I try and punch through. Some of these archers did come around, and they're going to try and deal with my chariots. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of damage, and then we're going to wheel forward in pursuit of these archers. And, oh, I run one guy over. He somehow picks himself up. But they're going to get back to their pikemen just in time. So it's going to be a hard nut for me to crack over here. My pikes are now going to push forward. Starting to take some fire from the Balearics. But it looks like the artillery is going to try and offer some support. A couple shots do, obliterate some of these dudes here. But it looks like what the enemy's gearing up to do is to pull my pikemen into a position where they're going to get flanks on both sides, and then just have the Balearics continue to fire. So what I do is I drop the pikes immediately, and I do a full-on sprint, something hoplites would have done, where they would advance slowly, and then at that last minute, they might even charge the enemy and break them up front. So a shift from slow to fast pace, you could do that, and against this certain enemy, you could actually crack and destroy them pretty easily. But the reason I did this is because I wanted to break through the enemy. And now I'm going to turn about and now redeploy my pikes, move up in a bit of a slower but still relatively good paced advance to try and hem the enemy. And what this is actually doing is it's opening up an opportunity for my scythe chariots to pull up through here and hit the whole back of this force. As my ally starts to push through, he's finally cleared the walls, but there has been so much death and destruction here. I believe my opponent didn't get the best of it despite the supporting fire. Yeah, because if you look at this, most of his troops have died. I think he had a lot of supporting archers, and I would never really use archers to fire at walls. Most of their shots are going to miss. You have to be very careful, get them on the flanks, or wait until they're inside the city and get better shots than that. But anyways, my scythe chariots are going to roll up. I did want to put this on slow-mo real quick so we can get back to this fight where the battle happened. Recurring damage being done here, although the reinforced pikes have been a real thorn in my side. I did dispatch some infantry over here to try and deal with the enemy in the back, but I got cycle charged by Ptolemaic Cav and some other throw spears who turned about. So it looks like I am kind of a goner on this side. I still have one Indian War Elephant with almost 200 kills, only one single elephant model left. I have a full strength Indian War Elephant that I pulled out of the engagement, waiting for the choke point to clear up, but the pikes are going to be pushing forward, engaging with my Syrians. I have some peltas, and what I'm going to have to do here is split up. But actually, as I was firing into these guys, the cover of the elephant corpses was enough to actually shield them from repeated volleys as I was trying to shoot into them. So this is crazy stuff. Look at this. Pikes and elephants and archers on the docks. A hell of an engagement. I do wish in this battle we had done it as a naval assault, so I could have some big triremes sitting here, quadriremes, even with maybe scorpions firing into this mass. That would have been cool. Or the enemy could have even had a ship here bottled up in the harbor for reinforcing fire. That would have been pretty cool. But anyways, back to the action on this front. I've pulled through with my scythe chariots. Up to 34 kills already. There is an enemy African pikeman force that's just now getting deployed, but I was able to pull through most of my guys. I'm charging after the auxiliary Syrian archers, but now the Sacred Band and late Libyan hoplites are going to turn about. They have relatively high mass, so they'll be able to deal with my guys. But the thing I'm most eager for is to hit these Balearic slingers. It turns out the noble cavalry here with triple chevron is going to try and turn about to reinforce these archers. And cavalry is actually a pretty good counter to chariots. You'll find that you're not really able to do much damage to them, and they can stop you pretty hard. So, not wanting to be killed by the cavalry, I turn about and I try and pull through these hoplites. But it's really not going to do too well. A couple of my guys do pull through, but the rest are slaughtered in the rest of the engagement. I believe that was mostly due to some of the early fire and health damage that I was dealt. And yeah, I guess in hoplites, even late Libyan hoplites, maybe they have bonus versus large. I can't quite remember, but they seem to have done pretty well against my chariots. And you can never really expect chariots to do too well in the city. You really have to have a very lucky engagement for them to be able to pull through and damage the enemy. So with them gone, all I have left is a Silver Shield Pikeman trying to hold its own here. It's got 59 kills, started to rake it up, but a Sacred Band force is moving very quickly to get to my rear. I'm going to try and pull in some of my Greek onagers and signal to my ally to reinforce before I get sandwiched. And my other unit here has been stranded at the extremes. It's got 26 kills. It's going to try and hold its own. My ally's general's bodyguard has charged into this mix. I don't know why, but he's going to get slaughtered and killed. Meanwhile, on this position, I've brought in some of my Indian War elephants. Oh god, look at this. This is crazy. Elephant corpses sliding across the deck here. They are so eager to kill yet more elephants, and they're using my guys almost as a shield, so I'm a little bit scared of this. But what they're doing is they're actually clearing away a nice opening for me to fire into the flank of these pikemen. And now they're going to do an about face. My Syrian archers are going to, try and trot over and get some more point-blank shots, but the pikemen are closing in. They're going to get really close and then drop their pikes here to try and finish me off, taking out some of their swords as well. And so this could be the end of my archers, but what I'm going to be able to do is, now that they're distracted, come back in for a vengeful strike with my elephants. And now this is going to be the engagement I want against these pikes. Finally. It looks like I even have some legionary allies coming in, so I'm going to be able to get just vengeance against these troops. And maybe I'll finally be able to beat the docks level of this mission. So there you go, they've shattered a nice charge of the elephants. They go trampling around, breaking all the valuable goods on the docks. And then now we're going to try and pull through. And again, we're being kind of inhibited by the corpses of all the elephants that have died in the streets. But we're going to plow right on through. God damn, this is epic. So So finally we've cleared our way, but at this point most of my allies have died. The Romans on this front, their heavy onagers being pretty much useless, the rest of the legionnaires somehow having melted. The enemy forces have circled the wagons at the victory point here. Two of the generals, Triari holding all the fronts, and plus still some range units, so there's not much we can do. Meanwhile, my Silver Shield pikemen here with 138 kills, doing really well, but are going to get killed to a man here in the central plaza. And then on this front, Silver Shield pikemen are going to be killed by a combination of Sacred Band and African pikemen as well. Things are not looking good at all for me, so now I'm down to, what is it, 3 units. Syrian Archer here with depleted ammo, depleted health. And then I have a pretty healthy Indian War Elephant, albeit tired, and then one back here that's unfortunately stuck against the corpse of another elephant. That is a sad, sad sight here. Yeah, look at this. You're the last elephant into the port, and this is what you see: the bodies of your comrades littered everywhere. These two dying literally on a platform over here. Crazy stuff. But meanwhile, my elephants are going to plot up here. Another pikeman unit. It seems like there have been a lot this battle, but actually we put a limit on 4 per army, and the enemy did adhere to that. So it's just that I keep encountering them because they keep getting sent to deal with the elephants. But anyways, I charge around the pikes to the best of my ability. Most of my elephants get around, and now we're going to start to hit these. I believe these look like Galatians. Yeah, Galatian Royal Guard. They've got 95 kills, but I'm going to be doing a good job of just murdering them. 145. These annoying mercenary Rhodian slingers are putting on the hurt to my Indian War Elephants. I try and pull through, but it looks like he snipes the second of them. And so I'm starting to deal a lot of damage. I'm going rampaging, and we're going to run into columns. But one of my guys, my lone elephant, is going to be able to punch through, and before he even breaks or goes berserk. So that means he's going to get his own vengeance as well. This is for the other elephants. And I'm going to be able to break this light, tiny light elephant unit. There you go, it's broken. So that was pretty sick. Meanwhile, my elephants over here are running amok, and they seem to have been running amok to the point that they get stuck on these stakes. And when I try and turn them around, they're going to get killed by the stakes. So that was a nice defensive emplacement for our enemies. Elephants are not having a good time here. And then finally, I do a last charge straight into the pikes. I am going to get them before they form up, so that's a little bit in my favor. And I bowl over about half of these pins. Oh my god, we just saw the rare animation where he picks up the unit and throws him, so that was kind of cool. This is the last final triumphant battle. The pikemen here facing the wrong way, but it shouldn't really matter. I'm at such low health here that I think we're going to go ahead and shatter and rout. Yeah, there you go. 184 kills to their name, but alas, that's the last of my units. The enemy are going to be victorious. They're now swarming out of the capture points, going around, and there's a little bit of cleanup to do here with some archers that were still standing on the outside. I'm not quite sure who they're firing at, but we would have preferred bringing these guys into the battle. But alas, yeah, man, we just got kind of fucked. It was really fun in the beginning when we were massacring the walls, but I think what kind of did it in for us was Zhao here. I wish he'd spent less on the Roman heavy onagers, and instead of investing in Hastati and other units, bring some bring some Praetorians, bring some veteran legionaries, bring some better stuff like that. His force did get a fair amount of kills. I got the most here. 120, 206, 184, 117. So my big hitters did really well. Less than impressed with the Peltas. They're in a good position to just destroy enemy pikes that got in the way, but unfortunately the timing of the engagement on the docks didn't allow them to get maximal damage. The enemy charged at me, got in amongst my ranks before I could get clean shots, and then kind of precipitated the elephant charge. And then once the elephants started dying, there were corpses in the way that blocked my shots. So I should have been a bit more careful on that front. The rest of my swordsmen doing okay in clearing the walls. Silver Shield Pikemen, though, 141, 103, really good stuff. Let's take a look at Jake here. Picked Hoplites, somehow getting a fair amount of kills up on the walls, but I would not have brought these in an assault. Mercenary Samnite forces could have done pretty good. Archer's actually getting a fair amount of kills for these guys, although I don't know why he shoved them up to silver. A bit of waste. I would have put that on hoplites or spent a bit more on bringing some swordsmen for clearing the walls. What's the other units? For the enemy here, a lot of the kills on the Galatians, mostly cleaning up some of the cheaper Roman infantry. Ptolemaic Cav was clearing out units left and right that had penetrated. Good job on them. Captain Deadpool here, he was playing, I believe, the best of the defenders, pivoting around with his Balearic Slingers, getting the best value shots, and yeah, this Sacred Band blob here really held the central plazas. Pikes did okay. Wait a minute. Okay, no, there's 4. I thought this was a pike unit. It's a late Libyan hoplite unit, and I believe it got a couple chevrons because it killed my chariots. And these mercenary noble fighters, 149 kills. Yeah, looks like he did work. Although most kills for them was Egypt. Anyways, there was kind of a balancing issue in this battle, so we did 3 attackers versus 2 defenders, and to try and kind of balance out the odds, we didn't want a full new player, so what we did is we added a Roman AI player and just gave them mostly fodder units, so that's why you saw them dying up on the walls with all that incoming artillery fire, but I think it played out pretty appropriately. They brought a lot of guys, tanked it out, got still 1,000 kills, and mostly slowed us down. And yeah, bringing a Roman CPU player like this with almost all infantry is always going to be, pretty hard for the AI to do poorly. You kind of just charge in and do your thing. But that's it for this battle. I hope you guys enjoyed. I really like these big siege battles. It's been a while since we've had one. So yeah, I hope to do more. And definitely stay tuned for more videos to come, documentaries. And check out the Facebook page for teasers on what's going to be up next. Thank you again. See you in the next one. Peace out.